And right now we've managed to get a few minutes with tech expert Carmi Levy to talk about this CrowdStrike issue that's crippled some businesses and systems around the world and really thrown the airline industry into a mess this morning. Also banks. Carmi, maybe you can start by explaining what's at the root of this major tech issue.
So the good news here is that it's not a cyber attack. It's a bad software update, that there was an error in the software that was rolled out to Windows computers that run around the world. Most of us have these computers on our desktops. Many of them run the data centers that we rely on for these digital services that you just described. And there was a bad software update went out that caused these computers to crash and try to reboot but fail. So they were in this kind of endless loop, blue screen of death, which means that they simply don't work and they can't restart themselves. And so what they're doing now is they are trying to revert to the moment before the software update was rolled out. So they're rolling out the old version of the software so that the computers themselves can reboot and we can get things back to normal. But of course, this being a global outage, there are literally millions of computers affected by this, probably touching well over 1 billion people. It's going to take some time for all of that to kind of get worked out.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it sounds like a monumental headache. And we know that media, healthcare systems, airlines have been impacted. And I think you just answered the question about why this is impacting some businesses and organizations, but not all. For instance, a lot of people saying if they bank with TD, they're not getting their paycheck this Friday. Meantime, RBC, CIBC seems to be okay. So I'm assuming they're not using this Microsoft software. Is that the issue?
Exactly. So like depending on what they've got running in their data center, some of them might be very dependent on Microsoft machines or Microsoft services. For example, Microsoft Azure services that also rely on these devices that have been affected, whereas other financial institutions, other airlines, other government agencies may be using different kinds of technology, different operating systems on their devices. And of course, they're not affected because we don't see this day to day. We're just using the apps on our phones or our browsers on our computers. It's all invisible to us, but it's luck of the draw. If your provider that you're connecting with uses this technology, well, today you're probably going to have to find another way.
It just seems like such a bizarre thing. Was this an automatic software update from Microsoft, and that's why it happened so simultaneously? And you talked about the length of time that it could take a while. What are we looking at here? Hours or perhaps days, Carmi?
Probably hours to get the machines that were affected back online and services restored, probably days to then handle the backlog of work that isn't being done now because of that. So all the airline tickets that aren't being issued, or, all the border crossings that can't be processed and they're sitting in lineups, trying to go from one country to another, that will take time to sort of work through that backlog. The good news here is that we know what the problem is. It's a piece of software called Falcon Sensor from a company called Crowdstrike. We've never heard of it. It's built into Windows. Microsoft partners with this company to provide this service. And obviously there needs to be better coordination going forward. We will learn from this outage. We always do. And I would expect that we will get a report from both of these companies about what they are planning to do going forward to prevent this kind of thing. Make sure that you do more robust testing to catch these things before they get out into the wild. And then once they do, that the fail-safes, the backup systems, the workarounds are in place so that even if bad software does make it out into the real world, you still have a plan B.
Right, exactly. Okay, so we'll see how quickly this does take to recover. Carmi Levy, always appreciate your time on this and hope that, things return to normal soon because it's certainly caused a lot of interruptions. Thanks so much.
Appreciate it. Thanks.